The idea of status can sometimes feel like a vague concept because of how widely the term can be used, but in this video I'm going to be categorizing the 10 different types of status to truly define how each different type of status can be applied. The first status category is face and body status. So this is the status level that's perceived simply from your physical appearance, irrespective of any clothes or accessories you wear. So this is basically determined by your height, body composition, ethnicity, and facial appearance. This is an overt type of status since people interpret it immediately from looking at you without needing to know anything else about you. Many people in the looks maxing space get stuck on this category as being the be all and end all with regards to a person's perceived value, but two identical looking people can have vastly different levels of perceived status based on other categories I'll go into next. The next category is aesthetic status, and this refers to how people present themselves in terms of the clothes and accessories they wear. A man's status level can be perceived completely differently depending on whether he's wearing a nice suit and an expensive looking watch versus wearing dirty raggy clothes that make him look homeless. Aesthetic status also refers to the archetype someone displays themselves to be based on their clothing. So someone who dresses like an emo might have low status among the broader society, but to other emos they have a level of immediate status upon meeting because they recognize each other as belonging to the same archetype. This is also a form of overt status, which is based on visual first impressions. The next category is social class status. While this category can often be overt and visual, as you can often tell if someone belongs to the lower class based simply on their phenotypical appearance and how they dress, which takes aspects from the first two categories, it can also be the case that someone's social class can't be assumed until interacting with them. For example, someone can dress very plainly, but if they speak with a posh accent, then it will be assumed that they're middle or upper class rather than lower class. Likewise, someone can dress well and not appear lower class visually, but if they speak with a lower class accent and use lower class mannerisms, they're going to be recognised as being lower class. In countries with rigid and historical social class systems, this can be one of the biggest factors in how people perceive the status or worth of other people. The next category is job title status, and this is the status someone is perceived to have based simply on their job title or being seen in a uniform that shows the job they work. Some clear examples are pilot, doctor, firefighter, policeman, judge, professor, politician, and CEO. When a pilot is walking in public in his pilot uniform, he's recognised for having pilot status, but when he takes the uniform off, this status disappears. Similarly, policemen have status simply by being seen in their uniform, which wouldn't exist if they were walking around in civilian clothing. But if they were to tell someone they were a policeman while in ordinary clothes, it might boost their status to the person they're talking to, just like someone saying they're a firefighter could boost their status. If someone has the title of doctor before their name, it conveys status as people will often assume they're intelligent, competent, and make a good income. If a politician attends a function, people who have never heard of the politician before will still perceive them as having status simply because of the knowledge that they've been elected into office. The next category is resource status, and this refers to the amount of money someone has and the possessions they own. One of the most prominent status markers people use in this regard is the car they drive, as it's something that they can make people aware of since it's mobile, and it implies someone is financially well off if they have an expensive car, even if they're struggling to pay it off. Owning property is also a major display of resource status, while liquid funds are a more covert resource, as people can't tell how much money you have in the bank unless you have another level of status where your estimated net worth is in the public domain. For our next category, we have lifestyle status, and this is signalled by broadcasting content relating to the holidays you go on, the places you go to eat, and the activities you take part in throughout your week. This category is very female coded, as many women seem to have a strong urge to signal to people that they maintain a certain level of lifestyle that includes expensive coffees and lunch dates with friends, frequent holidays to glamorous destinations, and a low level of effort required at work to make an income which makes maintaining their lifestyle seem effortless. In the social media era, portraying a lifestyle that's perceived as high level and desirable is something many people strive for to display high status. The next category is competent status, and this refers to being competent in a certain field which people are unaware of until they actually see you display it as competence. Some examples of this would be someone sitting down at a public piano and playing it extremely well and gathering a crowd. The guy was just another customer in the shopping centre, but once he shows his competence at playing the piano and gathers a crowd, he gets perceived as having status in that moment. More examples are someone being good at surfing, skiing, or ice skating. If a group go to try one of these activities and one person who does it often is extremely good at it, that gives them status as it shows they're competent at something, and regardless of how insignificant it might seem in the grand scheme of things, it can create attraction from a girl who already knew the guy but now sees him as more attractive due to proof that he was the best in the group at something. Other examples are being able to sing well or being skilled at something like gymnastics. The key point is that just being good at these things in practice where nobody else sees the results provides no status gain, so an audience is needed to benefit status-wise from being highly competent. For example, if there was a school talent show and someone who got up to perform was an amazing singer or a skilled gymnast and nobody knew about it prior, it could create a massive status boost when people see their ability. In the social media age, people can display these talents online without needing an in-person audience, but having an in-person audience is a superior status boost because posting talents online can often mean you're being compared to everyone else in the world, which is much harsher judgment than just being compared against the ability of your peers. The next category is status confined to a role, and what I mean by this is status that only exists when operating within a given role, such as a fitness class instructor, a holiday guide, a pub crawl host or party rep, a boss to people at work, a bouncer, or a small-time DJ in a nightclub. This is status that only exists when the person is within their role, and the status isn't truly assigned to the person themselves, but whatever person happens to fill the role. If a man attends a gym just as a regular customer, the girls who go to that gym might not feel any attraction towards him upon seeing him, but if you put him in front of a class of 20 girls for an hour per week, with him being the centre of attention as he's the one giving instructions to the class, suddenly he goes from being just another face in the gym to being in a role of perceived leadership where familiarity can build over time, which can be massive for increasing attraction to women. Similarly, if a man worked in a job where he spent the day bringing groups of people around to different bars in the city, with part of his job being to ensure that the group had a good time, if he was hosting a group of girls, simply by interacting with the girls over the course of the day and being the person in the leadership role, some girls would likely develop attraction to him over the course of the day, even if they felt no initial attraction upon meeting him. If someone works as a bouncer in a nightclub, it gives them a level of status that they wouldn't have if they're just attending the club as a customer, since they have perceived power because they can make a decision on who's allowed into the club and who they want to remove from the club. Being in the security role and uniform also allows bouncers to stand out visually compared to the hundreds of men in attendance as customers, which can cause women to view them in a different category, meaning they compare their appearance relative to other bouncers rather than comparing them to the hundreds of customers, as they're viewed as being in different lanes status wise. Next we have social status, and this is the kind of status that's probably the most applicable to everyone's life, as it will be the biggest determining factor for dating success for the broader population. When people enter into the ages where they start dating in their teenage years, in most cases they haven't yet built up any kind of status aside from social status, which is why this is initially the most important form of status, making it very hard to compensate for if you have a lack of it. Teenagers who are seen as having low social status may put their focus into aesthetic status, which is why you see teenagers who fail to meet the requirements to join regular social groups, dressing up in goth or alternative aesthetics to try find a group of more people who also fail to fit in. If they were accepted into the popular group from day one, they'd never have a reason to seek an alternative form of status through opting for a different aesthetic. While people like to focus on the importance of height and face, if we assume that the bar people are expected to meet is an average height and an average face, with every increment above average being an additional halo, and every increment below average resulting in additional phalo, most people's biggest differentiator for dating success is going to be their social status once they're within the average range physically. Since it's rare for young people to have amassed much status in terms of resource, lifestyle, competence, role, or job title status, which are expected later in life, social status is going to be the key form of status which young people attain to enhance their value in the dating market. Social status is a form of status that's extremely hard to escape, since it's formed in environments where you're forced to be around large groups of people, like in school or university. These are effectively the closest things we have to tribes in the modern world, and since humans experience tribal living as the basis for partnering up for tens of thousands of years, it makes women extremely sensitive to choosing a partner based on their position in the tribe, aka their social status in fixed communities, even though we now live in a world where it's possible to meet thousands upon thousands thousands of people who are unfamiliar to you, who you could potentially partner up with if you live in a city. The final kind of status out of the 10 types is standalone status, and this is status where a person's name precedes them, which is in most cases the most impactful kind of status with the highest ceiling in terms of the level of power it can have. How this status is differentiated from the other kinds of status is that the person's status level is recognized by the observer without the person needing to display it in real time. If we look at competence status, the person with competence doesn't have any status until people observe him displaying his level of competence in a given field. Whereas if we look at a footballer like Cristiano Ronaldo, while he possesses extreme competence in his field, his status is tied to his name and not simply his competence. This is why there are countless women who may have never watched him play a football game, but they're still aware of who he is and mentally assign him as being someone with extremely high value despite never witnessing his footballing competence, which is what allowed him to increase his status in the first place. If we take DJs as another example, a local nightclub DJ will be classified as status assigned to a role, since the people attending are going to the nightclub to enjoy the social aspect of that particular nightclub, as opposed to the name of the DJ making them want to go there, since it's just a given that a DJ who plays music in alignment with the club's target market, e.g. mainstream, is going to be playing there. The status that's applied in this instance is simply the fact that they're there in a limited role rather than them being another one out of hundreds of paying customers. Whereas if we look at a DJ with standalone status where their name precedes them, when these DJs are performing, they can be the determining factor on whether customers attend a concert or not, since many customers may only attend a concert to see a certain DJ performing, while they wouldn't attend if it was a different DJ performing at that same concert in his place. If a headliner of a concert cancels, a lot of people may want their tickets refunded if the headliner is switched to someone different. The reason why standalone status is so powerful is because it can allow for the name and appearance of a person to be known by millions of people who have never saw them in person, whereas most of the other forms of status we've discussed are limited to in-person exposure, which creates a finite limit for how many people can witness their perceived status, which can't scale up to large degrees. With standalone status, even if someone doesn't know who a person with status is, as soon as other people inform them that the person is of high status and large numbers of people know who he is, they will also tend to view them through the lens of someone who is high status, because people tend to think that if huge numbers of people are treating someone as having high value, they should respond to them the same way too. A prime example of this is when women see that an e-celeb who they've never seen before has a crowd gather around them in the street, and suddenly they think that they should go over to them too, so that they can be in their presence as well, simply because other people have indicated that the person has importance. Each of the categories discussed warrant their own specific videos to elaborate further on each type of status, but the primary goal of this video was to give an outline and explanation to the 10 different types. Please be sure to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe for more videos on these topics coming soon.